Hello, everybody. Mr. H here with you. Chapter 3, British North America. And you know what? There almost was no British North America because the first couple colonies they tried to plant died on them. Ocracoke Island, 1858, massive fail. Roanoke just vanished. We're still not sure what exactly happened there. And then finally, Jamestown. This is the one that finally sticks, barely. Way back in the dark ages, I was an ugly little kid up in Pittsburgh. I used to work in my dad's pizza place, and of course, they had spaghetti. And if you weren't sure if the spaghetti was done, you took out a strand and you threw it against the wall. If it stuck, it was ready. If it didn't, you just let it cook a little bit longer. And later on, I had to sweep the spaghetti out from behind the counter. And yeah, Jamestown is the strand that finally sticks. At this point, you think you're about to scoop up about 5 pounds of spaghetti, but Jamestown finally sticks and just barely. All right, English colonies. Where are they getting the money for this stuff? Now, Spain is run top down. Ferdinand and Isabella sold their jewelry, got the money, gave it to Columbus, got 3 boats, went across to the New World, right? In other words, Columbus got the money from the Spanish government and then went off and did what he did. England, they've got a little bit of money, but it's not being run by the government. This is, instead of top down, it's being run from bottom up. What happens is they formed a Virginia company. They named the land across the way there in what would be Virginia one day. They named it for Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen. Yeah, you figure that one out. And they decided it was a joint stock company. And those still exist today, stocks. So you go around and you find civilians, farmers, and nobility's got some money, but anybody who's got some money could join this thing. So 2 pounds from this guy, 5 pounds from him, 50 from him. So you got 2%, 5%, 4%, 27%, what have you. And then all the profits that come back from Virginia, you got to get that percentage back. Now, they also got something else. Now, who's going to go over there? Well, there's plenty of people who want to go over there because, the poverty and the starvation and everything. But if you can convince somebody to go, with no land, no job, no nothing, you can get 50 acres of land for everybody to convince to go with you. So here you are with nothing, and then when you get over to Virginia, you're going to be a landowner. You get 50 acres just for one person. So you convince 3, 4 guys to go with you, you can have 200 acres of land. Suddenly, you are nobility. How about that? It's the land of opportunity right off the bat. Now, never mind that there's already people living on that land. They're not Europeans, so they don't count. But nonetheless, there it is. You've got land waiting for you in Virginia. And once they get there, what are they going to go looking for first? Yeah, they go looking for gold. How much gold they find in Virginia? I'll give you a hint. Somewhere between 0 and none. So the colony's about to go under. They were fighting off starvation. They were trying to farm, and they're not used to the soil and the climate, and people are dying. And they keep bringing in more people who die, and they move inland because they're literally stepping over the graves to go inland, right? So they got your 50 acres of land. If you live through it, you got to try and develop it into something. Well, food might work out. Takes a while to get across the Atlantic. But the guy who's going to end up saving Virginia is John Rolfe, who cultivates and develops tobacco as a cash crop. That's what's going to save Virginia. Later on, cotton's going to be even bigger. By the way, he's the guy who married Pocahontas, not John Smith like they had in the movie, right? Disney. Meanwhile, the English just keep on coming, man. I got some more English on the way. Some of them are going to show up in Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Bay Colony. What makes this so unique? Well, there's several unique features. First of all, it's being run by a board of directors in Massachusetts, not in England. Right now, down in Spain, like I said, top down, and it's very centralized. You want to do something in Mexico, you got to send the guy all the way back to Spain. He's got to come back again, and who knows what's happened. Massachusetts to England, we're looking, I don't know, about 6 weeks if you're lucky, maybe 4. So you want to do something in Massachusetts, you got a guy on a boat, hopefully he doesn't get drowned in the North Atlantic somewhere, and he's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to get there and 4 to 6 weeks to come back. Everything's working great, so it was football season when you left. When you come back, it's Stanley Cup playoffs. So the board of directors isn't in England, it's right there in Massachusetts. So we've got a tradition of self-government already starting because it's just simply too far away. Massachusetts is also formed by Puritans. Look at that, purity. They felt that the Church of England, the Anglican Church, was too Catholic, which it was because, remember world history? All it was Henry VIII taking over the top of the church. So we had the Catholic Church, then the Anglican Church. Now we got Puritans who are trying to get away from the Church of England because they feel it is too Catholic. So here we are, self-government and freedom of religion already. All right, Puritans and Pilgrims. Puritans called themselves Congregationalists, but everyone else just called them Puritans. Try to purify the church. Catholic, take a step away as Anglican, another step away as Puritan, and here's a further step, man, the Pilgrims. I'm not sure what the buckles on the hat and all that meant, but that's just kind of how they dressed. They're even further away from the church than the Puritans are. People saw them as kind of strange. They actually were thinking about going to the Netherlands at first, but they ended up coming here to the Americas. Again, it's all about religious freedom. They were actually supposed to end up in Virginia because there's already a colony here, and and at least they know what's out there and who to deal with. But navigation error, and they end up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Now it takes 4 to 6 weeks to sail over, and you got nothing else better to do. So while they're sitting on the boat, they decided to come up with the Mayflower Compact. They're going to live by what they consider just laws. So you have the first representative government in North America. That means if they have a problem or something goes wrong or they have to make a decision, they make the decision. They don't have to wait on London because it's just too long to wait. They're going to do it themselves. So here's our first representative government in North America. Now, over here in the colonies, you get some interesting people because let's be honest with you. If they fit in so great in England, they wouldn't be coming over to the colonies. So the English settlers coming to the colony are the kind who, don't play very well with others. Turns out some don't play too well with their fellow colonists. Anne Hutchinson, yes, that's a lady. She speaks her mind in public. Oh, can't do that in this society, but she does anyway. Didn't go to church that often. There's another no-no because this is Massachusetts. Everybody goes to some kind of church. And then she was put on trial for, ready for this, unsettling ideas. What was this unsettling idea? Accusing ministers of preaching good of works over good of grace. What does this mean? That means the ministers kept passing a tray around looking for more money, saying, if you give me more money, you go to heaven. Whereas Anne Hutchinson came out and said, no, no, going to heaven is about being a good person, not how much money you have. Of course, this is bad for business, so they sent her to Rhode Island. Now, what do you think? Separated at birth? Yeah, that's Paul Blart over here. Who's this guy over here? This guy? Roger Williams. He too was expelled from Massachusetts in 1636 as he was preaching this dangerous idea of a separation of church and state. Hey, have we heard that before? Yeah, church and state. Look, at 1636, the 30 Years' War is ripping Germany apart as they fight between Protestants and Catholics. So he doesn't want that happening over here. But he's in Massachusetts, which is basically, sort of a church-run sort of colony. So separation of church and state, can't have that. Get him out of here. He too goes to Rhode Island. Paul Blart saves them all from terrorists in West Orange, New Jersey. You don't have to know that, but I do want you to know about Roger Williams, though. Here's John Winthrop. He was actually the first governor of the Massachusetts colony. He convinced 900 people in England to follow him to Massachusetts. Too bad it wasn't Virginia. Imagine how much land he would have had. He pens this sermon called A Model of Christian Charity. And this is the first political speech in American history. And you believe it or not, you've heard about this. It talks about equality, helping people out, your fellow human out, and he says Massachusetts, i.e. America, should be a city on a shining hill for the rest of the world to look at and admire, because now we are something different, we are something new, we're going to be awesome. American exceptionalism. Because of John Winthrop, we have the concept of America. Think about it. English just keep on going. We got this population problem. They're just shoveling people out on the docks there, London and Bristol and Plymouth and all these other places. Maryland in 1632 is a proprietary colony. What's that? That means somebody bought themselves a colony. Lord Baltimore bought a colony. It's a refuge for Catholics. Anybody but Catholics are allowed to come in. And, well, he figured he bought it and he's going to establish a city and he's going to call it Baltimore. The Ravens come along later, about 300 years, so I can't hold that against Lord Baltimore. 1632, Maryland's established. The Ravens, 1996. Okay, I'll give Lord Baltimore a break on that one. All righty, let's talk about Carolina. Nope, it's not North and South Carolina yet, just one colony, Carolina. And how is Carolina born? Well, in 1663, Charles II grants a charter to Anthony Ashley Cooper and his secretary, John Locke. Remember John Locke, don't you, from the Renaissance? Well, the reason he gives this land out is because Charles has some debt. Yeah, you can't really pay it off. I don't care if you're the King of England, man. You owe money to the bank wants its money. Tried to tell Charles II, take the Steelers and the points. Well, he's going to get out of his debt by giving away land. And it's fantastic. I'm just going to give away land that I really don't have. If I owe you $10, I offer to give you the student center. Hey, go ahead. You take the student center. I don't own it. You take it. Not my problem anymore, right? That's kind of what Charles II is doing. You want some land? I'll give you some land. And they love it, and they're going to call it Carolina because it's, the Latin version of Charles as a tribute. And they're going to go set up their own colony over there. So the fundamental constitutions call for the nobility to own 2/5 of the land, and they control the upper legislative house and judiciary. This is a long-winded way of saying the landowners are going to run the whole thing, or at least 2/5 of it, which is 40%, which is going to, probably work anyway. The strange thing about Carolina, it's actually a colony of a colony, because most of the elites of Carolina actually came from Barbados. Barbados is a small island, sugar, and it's not that big, so it didn't take long for that to get overcrowded. So off you go to the mainland, and here we are in Carolina. And what's going to be South Carolina is where it's going to start. Sugar was big in the Caribbean. Carolina is going to be rice because in Charleston area, it's hot, it's humid, it's swampy. Rice is a great place for this too. As you can tell up here, Anthony Ashley Cooper. Well, there's two rivers running, bracketing Charleston, the Ashley and the Cooper, so they named it for him. Eventually, it's going to spread to the north until they run into Virginia, and they eventually decide where the border is. Eventually, though, around I've seen 1712 and 1729, they end up splitting it into North and South Carolina. The official reason is different economies, big distance, way too big. Real reason, those crazies in South Carolina. Who wants to be near those guys? That's okay. It's a good state. I'm just giving it a hard time. I like Myrtle Beach. All righty. What's going on in New York? Well, New York starts off with the Dutch. Yeah, Peter Sage. You've heard this story behind. He buys Manhattan for 60 guilders. That's about $24 in 19th century money because that's when the story came out. We're not really sure if this actually happened or not, but 60 guilders worth of stuff to Manhattan to Native Americans who don't have a concept of land ownership, right? So the story kind of came out in the 19th century, and back then 60 guilders was 24 bucks. Today it's about $1,000. Manhattan, what's the real estate value there? A lot more than $1,000, huh? So anyway, it started as a Dutch colony, and of course they had the Anglo-Dutch War in the 1600s. And well, England takes New Netherland in 1664 without taking a shot. The city was called New Amsterdam. The colony was New Netherland. And they show up and they say, this city belongs to us now. And Charles II sent his unemployed brother, James, Duke of York, to be in charge. So these patriotic Dutch patrons, landowners, are screaming, we'll never give in to the English. And then James says, hey, if you pledge your loyalty to England, you can keep your land. And suddenly they were pledging their loyalty to England. And then James, the Duke of York, decides to rename New Amsterdam to New York. In 1672, across the river, they formed New Jersey. It's crazy now, crazy then too. It's always been nuts. It's New Jersey. And did you think I was going to forget Pennsylvania? Nope, not at all. In 1681, William Penn gets a grant from King Charles II. Hey, that name looked familiar? King Charles. King Charles has a lot of what? Or should I say, doesn't have a lot of. Yeah, doesn't have a lot of money and has a lot of debt. There you are. So let's hand off some more land to somebody. William Penn, owe him some money. Here's a map. I'll give you this. And sketches out the land for him. William Penn says, thank you. It's his colony. William Penn decides to call it Pennsylvania. He's a Quaker, and Quakers are peaceful and they don't believe in conflict. So he decides he's going to create a Quaker colony and call it the Holy Experiment. The original Quaker is a guy named George Fox, but everybody remembers William Penn. So William Penn, Pennsylvania, off one of Charles II's debts. I don't know, like I said, take the Steelers and the points. Anyway, the Quaker church, there is no church structure, just a town meeting, and they call everybody friends. So Quakers are pretty nice people. They actually get along with the Indians. On occasion, they kind of screwed over the Native Americans on a couple of land purchases. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but at least they weren't genocidal lunatics. All right, so there we are. We got British North America. We got the foundations right there, and we're just going to start moving in. We've got proprietary colonies. We have royal colonies and colonies up and down with various kinds of origins. Hey, so far so good. Now we're going to start building a society. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.